Yeah, but we'll hop to your topic here. Real quick, the podcast will be a little short this week. We're running a little bit short on time, and it's a 2-man podcast, so
We're down a man.
we're probably going to be closer to like a half an hour, than like the normal hour. So go ahead, Dom. What's your topic?
So, it recently came out, Ubisoft came out and laid out their whole roadmap, all at once seemingly, saying, later 2017 we have an Assassin's Creed game. We also have South Park releasing October 2017. We just had Wildlands come out, and now we got, did I say Far Cry already? We got a Far Cry coming out soon.
Yeah.
Pretty much they just put their whole selves out there. We're Ubisoft. These are our games. And all expected, what those are the games that Ubisoft publishes. So it sort of got me thinking, like, yeah, those are all good games. I think South Park will stick above, stick of truth above. Anyway, South Park will be a bit better than the rest of theirs, in my opinion. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, even Wildlands, I think fall victim to that same old Ubisoft game kind of thing. Which just got me, critical of them as a publisher, I suppose. Like, yep, all their games are kind of, they're good, right? None of them are particularly great, sort of thing. And, of course, immediately after that, I start comparing them to other publishers. So the question I want to bring up is, I think we've done before, what is your favorite publisher? I want to go a little bit differently and say, if you could only play games from one publisher, which would it be? So this might not be your favorite publisher, right? Otherwise it would be easy for me to say Nintendo, because I would, like, Zelda is far and above my favorite franchise of all time. But as a publisher, I'm gonna look at what else Nintendo has. I don't know if that's all I could play, if that's what I would pick. Not that there isn't other good stuff from Nintendo, but you see where I'm going. So this is more you can bring one publisher's games to your desert island, and that's all you get. Which would it be? So I feel like I was just rambling for a while. I set you up. Well, let me run through. I'll give you some inspiration, and then I'll let you answer first. So I just mentioned a bunch of the Ubisoft games. Nintendo, that's easy. You have your Zelda, your Mario, maybe your Metroids, that kind of stuff. Your Fire Emblems, Pokemon. Your EA, your Mass Effects, your Dragon Age, your Star Wars now, and your sports games, of course, which could be pretty important for a lot of people. Then you have your Square Enix, your Final Fantasy, your Kingdom Hearts, your Tomb Raiders, your Deus Ex, maybe not Hitman anymore. But
Your Marvel now.
Shit, yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Your Marvel, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Then you have your Bethesda, which has become a heavy hitter as of late. Your Fallouts, your Skyrims, your Elder Scrolls, your Prey, now your Wolfenstein, Dishonored, Doom.
Evil Within. Like, they have a
Evil
pretty
Within.
wide range in the catalog, yeah.
Yeah, they've been building pretty steadily here. Then, of course, you have your Sony, first party, your Naughty Dog games, your Guerrilla games now with Horizon and whatever else is next, your Ratchet and Clank, and a bunch of the new stuff that we talk about, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Bloodborne, very good. Well, that is Sony
published by
right.
Sony, yeah.
That's true. Days Gone, and then your Infamous, your God of War, some of Sony's older franchises. There's a lot more, obviously, that I didn't mention. Oh, then your Microsoft, of course.
Which I honestly think they're the weakest out of most of them. I love Microsoft, but they do have, it's a desert island scenario, they do have the weakest catalog.
Yep. And then you have your Activision, your Call of Duty, Destiny.
Which Activision owns Blizzard, so then you throw in Overwatch and all of those games too. Yeah.
There's a lot going on that it's hard to sum up real quickly. And then you have your smaller publishers, THQ Nordic, etc. But
yeah.
All right.
This is interesting, and it's tough. So I'm gonna go each one by each one and kind of eliminate them. So Ubisoft has a great array of games, but they do feel samey, and I don't say that in a bad way. I think Ubisoft games are great when they're spaced out and you play them in their own time. And I think that's one reason why Far Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed both aren't coming out this year. If I was a betting man, Far Cry 5 comes out next spring, Assassin's Creed is this fall.
Yep.
And it's because you don't want to, like, playing The Division and then Wildlands back to back. I couldn't see anybody doing that, or I couldn't do that, because they're great games on their own, but they're essentially the same game, right? They're very close to each other. So Ubisoft's out for me. Though I love Ubisoft, they're out. Microsoft, out. I love Microsoft, weakest catalog. We're talking specifically for this scenario. Then it comes down to, honestly, the three that are left for me are EA, Sony, and Nintendo. EA is tough because... Yeah.
Wait a minute. You knocked out Bethesda?
See, Bethesda's tough because I love Bethesda. Like, not being able to play Elder Scrolls hurts, not being able to play Fallout hurts. But if I'm looking at the whole catalog, I would have to eliminate Bethesda. As much as that hurts, it's hard because honestly,
one other thing to consider here also is the legs on the games you're picking.
Exactly.
So I'm with you on Bethesda. I'd want to knock them out, but then you look at Fallout and Skyrim, and then how many hours you can put into those games.
Yeah. Oof. And then you're not even saying if we can get mods for them or anything, because that's a whole other story.
I'd say mods are a go. Mods are included in this.
I'm still gonna have to get rid of them.
Okay.
So then it comes down to I'm gonna keep them in. I have 4 players right now. Then it comes
They're
down
still
to
alive.
Nintendo. I love Nintendo published games. The problem with Nintendo is they don't have a variety. Splatoon it doesn't look like a fun game to me personally. So that means that immediately with Nintendo, I'm never getting a shooter that I'll like. Right? And I mean they might come a time when they publish a shooter I like, but like just looking at what they have now, I'm gonna lose shooters for the rest of my life. I'm never gonna be able to play shooters. Though the Mario Karts are great and Zelda Breath of the Wild and all this stuff is fantastic, I'm losing out on shooters, which is one of my favorite game genres. They do platformers well and stuff like that, so I'm gonna have to eliminate Nintendo. I think Nintendo has a strong stable. I just think their versatility doesn't help them and their legs on their games. I think Breath of the Wild is one of the only games that they've come out with recently that has legs. Super Mario Odyssey could also be that, but like you just previously stated, they're not Bethesda, right? So then it comes down to EA and Sony. EA, Sony, Bethesda. EA, I like EA. They have the Star Wars games. They have all the sports games. I don't play FIFA. I play Madden every year. They have a good stable. I love Titanfall. I love their shooters. But I don't think that they have enough of the franchises that I truly love. Like, I love Star Wars, but outside of that, I like Titanfall. I don't love it. I like Madden. I don't love it. Whereas I love Elder Scrolls. I love Fallout, right? So they're automatically eliminated. So then it comes down to Sony and Bethesda. And now you're thinking, Sony, Jerry, you don't even own a PlayStation. Yes.
That lineup, though.
Yes, but if you think about Desert Island, that means that you're giving me a PlayStation, so I don't have to buy one, which is great. You're giving me a superhero game in Spider-Man. You're giving me a post-apocalyptic game in Last of Us. You're giving me adventure games in the Uncharted series. I get my Dark Souls fix, so I don't have to pick Bandai Namco. I get the
Bloodborne.
Yeah. I get the platformers in Spyro if that ever comes back, and obviously the Crash remaster. Like, there's a lot of options with Sony. Exactly. The problem is I don't think that any of Sony's games are super long and the longevity thing. And honestly, I don't think I love any Sony franchise because I like Dark Souls more than Bloodborne. Bloodborne's cool and it's great and everything, but everyone always talks about, I like Bloodborne more, it's faster, I like the world more. I don't. I really enjoy the world of Dark Souls way more than the world of Bloodborne. And for me, it's like, well, I'm getting my Dark Souls gameplay, but I'm not really getting the world I want. And if you're telling me I'm going to be able to play any new Wolfenstein, any new Doom game, like I loved Doom, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Evil Within, like they have a range of games too, and you said you can include the mods, Bethesda, man. That's my answer. I'm going Bethesda.
Right,
I was actually going to eliminate them, and you made a strong case, and the more I started thinking
Shoot.
about it, I was like, yeah. It came down to Sony and Bethesda, though, and I think, for me, Bethesda has the franchises that are I care more about, you know? If I'm more excited for the possibility of Elder Scrolls 6 than I am for Last of Us 2. And I'm not saying Last of Us 2 is not going to be a good game. It's going to be a phenomenal game. It's going to be a 10 probably. But for my personal interest, I'm excited to see what Elder Scrolls 6 has to offer, you know? And Fallout 5. So
yeah, that's good. So I see you didn't even let Square into the conversation.
Square was a player solely for the Marvel games, but outside of that, I don't care about anything else Square does. Like, Final Fantasy is cool, but it's not something I super care about. You want to talk about longevity, though? You have every Final Fantasy game that came out, and each of those are like 100 hours plus.
Nah.
It's like, bang for your buck. But yeah, for me, Bethesda, dude, easy.
Left out 2K, no BioShock, no GTA.
Yeah. I'm still, man, Bethesda. Like, I gotta go with Elder Scrolls and Fallout and all those other, like, they have a very diverse set of games, and like I said, they have the shooters. The only thing I'm gonna be missing out on with them is platformers, and that's gonna be the thing that's gonna suck. But none of the other people that are up there have the platformers, so it's like I'm gonna lose platformers either way, you know. So.
All right, that's good. That's fair. I'm going to kick it off, so I'm going to make some of the same initial cuts. Ubisoft, their games are consistently good, sometimes great, but they kind of have a ceiling because you know what you're going to get, and you get it. But that's really all. They don't really do it for me in a way that stands out as much as I like their games. So they were the first easy cut. Square Enix was an easy cut. I've never played a Final Fantasy game. Kingdom Hearts was great. I played the one. Tomb Raider's up is okay, but it doesn't hold a candle to some of the other companies we're gonna get through here. So, I do want to bring up Bandai Namco because they do have Dark Souls, which is a big deal, but that's it.
And they have the Dragon Ball games, which have a longevity to them, and I love Dragon Ball. So it's cool, but there aren't games I enjoy. Yeah. I'm just throwing in some extra for Bandai Namco.
Yeah, and now they have this Code Vein thing, yep. Which who knows what that'll be like. But still, easy cut for me.
And every Pac-Man game ever, if you really love
That's
Pac-Man.
A really good point. Shoot, yeah. I'm sure someone would pick them based on that. But
yeah.
Anyway, 2K is an easy cut for me. Never got into GTA. Didn't play Red Dead like I mentioned. BioShock it's a tough pill, but you have a disease and you need your medication, so you gotta swallow it. So I say goodbye, BioShock. Nintendo, I'm gonna skip Nintendo and I'm gonna move on to EA for now.
Yeah.
EA is tough, man, because now they got Battlefront and these other 2 Star Wars games. I love Mass Effect. Dragon Age I never really connected with, but I could. If I'm on that island, I'm sure I'd love some Dragon Age.
Battlefield 1, a game you played the demo for and enjoyed. Like, they have that too, you know? If you're on a desert island, it's a game, you know?
Yeah, it's good. They got some good stuff. If I were into sports games, they might win it for me.
Yeah.
But I don't really play any sports games anymore, so...
If they brought back NCAA football, I would pick EA.
That's a good point, too.
I love NCAA football.
I will say, though, if my wife was a part of this conversation, she would pick EA real quick.
Sims, right?
Sims, yeah.
Yeah.
As despicable as their business model is for Sims, she'd have to pick that. But anyway, so now I'm down to Nintendo, Bethesda, and Sony. And I hate to do it, and it's like someone's just reached in my chest and grabbed my heart and is twisting it, but I have to eliminate Nintendo. Yeah, that means Ocarina of Time is gone. But I just have to do it because there's just not enough girth in that catalog for me.
Good word. Word of the day.
Yeah, that's how I feel it's best described, right? Like,
yeah,
they have the single greatest game of all time, but I don't want to say that's it, but
for
after
you,
that,
is The Legend of Zelda enough on the scale to tip it in Nintendo's favor, and it's not, right?
That's my point, and that's why this question is different than what's your favorite publisher.
Yeah,
you know, because I'm on that desert island, and that's just not enough. Sometimes you got to sacrifice some quality for some quantity, because this is a lifetime on a desert island.
Yeah. So
that's the strategy I'm going with. So now I'm down to the same 2 you were down to in Bethesda and Sony. And to me, these are 2 distinct, different sets of games. So Bethesda, your big RPGs, right? And then your couple other great single-player games with your Prey, Wolfenstein, Dishonored, Doom. Not so much story and narrative intensive with those single-player games, though, right? That's not what they're known for.
Even the RPGs, like, really, they're more about exploration and stuff, yeah.
Yep, exactly. Even Fallout and Skyrim Fallout has respectable, storytelling. Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, not so much.
I would say it's the same as Fallout. If you're gonna say that Fallout has some, then they're pretty much the same in terms of storytelling. Like, you get what you go for. Like, you know what I mean? It's
from an objective yeah, from an objective point of view, I think they're equal. I just personally, just
you vibe
Fallout
with
stuff.
Fallout.
Yeah. So that's kind of that style. And then the Sony side, I see, pretty much all single player experiences, all smaller. The biggest is Horizon right now, which still isn't nearly as big as a Fallout or Elder Scrolls, though. But although these games are all smaller, they're much stronger on the narrative side, right? With Naughty Dog and Last of Us and Uncharted, Horizon, presumably Days Gone. And some, I think narratively they hold the advantage there. Plus, you got a couple platformers like you mentioned.
Dom, the best thing I would think, the best way to describe this, I think Sony's catalog is a bookshelf full of books, right? They're individual stories that you can read, and they're great stories. But after you read that story, it's up to you if you enjoy rereading that book over and over again, right? Whereas Bethesda is a box of Legos and some action figures. The box of Legos is Fallout and Skyrim, and then the action figures are the standalone fun games that aren't super narrative. So it's like, do you value the bookshelf full of books where you can read the story, but how much value are you going to get out of rereading the same story over and over again? Or do you go for the Lego box and the action figures? And some people might want the bookshelf and just reread the books, Yeah,
so. That's a pretty damn good analogy, actually. Because, I think narratively, all the Sony games, well above the Bethesda games. But as far as, longevity, I don't know that... I mean, I've played through The Last of Us twice for a total of, 25 hours.
Yeah.
Right? I could play just Fallout 4.
I spend that much time creating my character in Fallout and Skyrim, yeah.
Just Skyrim, I could play hundreds of hours and enjoy it. Not enjoy each hour as much as each hour of The Last of Us, but I'm on a desert island. I got time to kill. Plenty of coconuts. Growing some vegetables, probably. So, I got to kill time. So, it's a tough call, but I am also with Bethesda. So, I guess to everyone listening, thank you for listening to the Bethesda Interest podcast.
Exactly. Well, it's tough though, because like in the specific situation, it's like what. I guess a part of this question, I think we did get a little hung up too much on the desert island thing, because the initial question is if you can only have one publisher, and if you're thinking of the future, right? We kind of made the worst decision in some aspects, because if we're sitting here and we can only pay attention to the Bethesda releases, that means we're only getting a new AAA, like a big AAA experience every 5 years, and then we get one or two games a year,
Yeah, that's a good point. We did kind of spend a lot of time looking at it as the catalogs as they exist now, and
also
not the future.
if you pick Sony's catalog, hopefully you don't like playing video games in the fall, because you're never going to play one in the fall.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, that's when it's starting to get cold and you're on the island, so you got to start preparing for winter, right?
Exactly. I think we did a pretty good job, though. I think we picked Bethesda, but I think we made cases for most of them. I think the weakest one is obviously Microsoft, and then Ubisoft. Nintendo, Sony, Bethesda, and EA, you can make a case for any of them depending on your preferences. So it's kind of like just pick and choose what you value.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the conversation everyone's had about E3 is just in this conversation alone, it shows that Microsoft needs some more stuff, in some capacity. Like, they just need some more stuff for us to be interested in, because it's weird that we can sit in a place where we talk more about Bethesda having more things we're interested in than Microsoft, one of the biggest companies in the world. Sony has a crazy catalog, and they're actually not that much older in terms of PlayStation than Xbox. It's like 7 years or something. So, yeah, I really hope this is the year where we get to see new stuff from Xbox and stuff for us to get excited about, because we are getting these new IP from Sony, these Neos, even Bloodborne, and we're not really seeing new stuff from Xbox. And that's kind of, we're like, let's see another Fable, let's see another Gears, let's see another Halo. I want some new IP. We had that with Scalebound, got canceled. So yeah, unfortunately that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Game Pass though looks cool.
Oh yeah, Game Pass looks great. Could be a game changer, honestly, especially for GameStop.